Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I'm Josh.
And we're back, guys. And we're back with another interview. Back. Oh, yeah. To the future?
Whenever I hear the phrase "we're back," I actually think of the animated movie with the dinosaurs, We're Back.
Yeah. Oh, the sad one.
Yeah, where they try to go to the Museum of Natural History. Wink.
It doesn't turn out that well for him.
No.
But yeah, so we've got another interview this week with Nicola Scott, who's really a superstar artist. She's done a lot of work with DC. You know, she's drawn the Birds of Prey. She's drawn Superman. She's drawn Wonder Woman. I mean, it's quite extensive. Right now, she's here to promote her Image Comics debut with Greg Rucka, Black Magick. The most recent issue of that will hit stands on February 24th. It's in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
Happy birthday to me.
Is that also your birthday?
Yep.
Oh.
Woo.
Well, happy birthday, Joshua.
You can go
2
out
weeks.
and buy the book.
Yeah.
I will buy a copy for you. Yeah, and you will enjoy it.
Won't, because I already gave you your birthday present.
True.
Damn right.
But yeah, Black Magick number 5. But yeah, we're here. We talk about Black Magick. We talk about her work with DC. We kind of geek out over all of the upcoming DC cinematic stuff. And for that first bit of it, I feel like for the first 15 minutes, we kind of get some of the natural sounds of Australia.
Yeah,
we do. Yeah, we do.
All the flora. Maybe not the flora, but the fauna in the background. So without much,
you know what? I think we do get the flora.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because it's just that loud.
I've never been to Australia. Maybe the trees talk too. Maybe the eucalyptus just like
the happening.
Yeah, that's right. If that taught me anything, it's that. Anyway, without much further,
M. Night Shyamalan is a bad director.
Well, there was other things that taught me that.
True. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
And here's our interview. And joining us, we've got Nicola Scott. She's currently drawing Black Magick for Image Comics. She's also drawn Birds of Prey, Secret Six. She's done some issues of Superman all over at DC Comics. Nicola, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
So this is your first major Image Comics book. How is it different than working with, say, DC Comics?
The whole kind of experience is a little bit different. It's obviously considerably more collaborative. This is something that Greg and I have been talking about for such a long time. And, he's not just delivering scripts and leaving me to it. We're communicating a lot before he writes each issue, after I've received each issue, along the lines as I'll sort of hit a particular point where it's like, I'm thinking, I see it slightly differently to how it's written in the script, or I've got a perspective to share and we'll talk again. And so it's considerably more interactive, and I have quite a bit more freedom and liberty to sort of make decisions on the fly. And it's mine. Do you know what I mean? With Greg, between us, it's ours. We own it, and it's the first time I've done that, really. Even when I've worked with on Creator Own previously, I've still sort of been a bit of a gun for hire kind of thing. And this time, because Greg and I have been talking about it for so long, and I was like almost 100% invested from the moment he first told it to me. It was like, if I'm not drawing this, I'm going to be reading this. It's so up my alley. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I feel considerably more ownership and that much more protective.
Mm-hmm. Plus, there's no editor saying, by the way, Alan Scott doesn't look like that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Was the plan always to have this book in mostly black and white?
Not originally. That was something that I suggested after having it was before I started working. Probably about 6 months before I started, I spent a week staying with Greg and his family in Portland. And during that time, I just sort of said, look, I've been thinking about the look of this book. We want it to be noir-esque, and it's obviously occult, and with a sort of slight horror edge, I kind of really see it in black and white. And part of that was a style that I thought was really appropriate, but it also a really significant portion of that came from the fact that I had been experimenting with different mediums and in different ways, and I already knew I needed to be muted and dark. But in the sort of playing with different mediums, I'd found that it was actually the black and white that was, one, I liked the look of the most, but two, the most fun to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can't see how I could add color to this other than digitally. And I'm not very digitally savvy. I'm super old school. And that would sort of be relinquishing too much control of the finished product. And, you know, again, this not being a work for hire book, I feel, you know, super ownership of everything that's in the finished product. And, the idea of handing over a significant portion of the finished product to somebody else was a little, that made me a little nervous for the first time. Because, usually you send it down the line, and if you don't like the finished product, there's only so much you can care. Mm-hmm. Where with this, I really cared.
Yeah, as someone who's studied a lot of cinematography and stuff like that, I went to film school. I really dug, like, while I was flipping through the pages, how it started out as very not quite like flat colors, but like very kind of muted colors, and then like every time like there's something like an intense focus, or like especially when like the magic starts to kick in, like you just get this flourish of colors,
or the rouge, or the eyes.
Right. Yeah. Well, like at the very beginning, when I sort of first offered the idea of black and white, mm-hmm. I coupled it with when we have magic, mm-hmm. that can be where we add color. And my idea, the way I kind of sold it to Greg, obviously it's all in the execution of, whether or not something is successful. But in the theory, before he could see what I was talking about, I was saying, the world that they're kind of living in, their day-to-day lives, these witches and all the, regular muggles around, is limited. And magic is the full use of all the light spectrums and all the alpha waves and gamma. It's all the stuff that you can't see being manipulated. And so I kind of sold it as when we see some magic, or the after effect of magic, or the presence of a subtle moment of magic, that can be kind of an insight into what Rowan and Alex see as true witches, that they probably see something that's a little more full spectrum that no one else sees. And again, Greg was like, yep, sure, that sounds interesting. Show me what you mean. And so it wasn't until we were sort of doing the book. And I already knew that at the end of the first issue, there was this, giant moment of magic, double-page spread.
Right.
Of magic, and it helped that it was flames, and you could really sell it. And
it looked gorgeous.
That double splash.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now you're
Thank
also
you very much.
Yeah, you're also painting this one, correct?
Yeah. So everything black and white that you see is pretty much me and a paintbrush and a bottle of ink. The color is digital, and I leave a couple of background. It depends on the scene, but occasionally, if I'm doing a pretty repetitive background scene, I might leave some backgrounds for Kiara to fill in. But generally, the whole book is just me painting images, which is quite a bit slower, but it feels really right for the book. And I've managed to sort of find a pretty decent delivery pace that I think we can rely on for the next few years.
With the, you're all the way in Sydney. Like you said, Greg's in Portland. I'm assuming that time you were with the Ruckas, was there just a lot of pictures for photo references while you were there?
I don't know that we've actually shared that much in the way of photo reference, I have to say. It's more likely that Greg will say this kind of thing and send me a link. When he was sort of referencing Rowan's motorbike, he said it's a one of these. And so I sort of, looked at the motorbike and thought, okay, that's interesting. That's nice. What else can I do to, not get sued by BMW and also make it interesting looking and, sort of change it slightly because this is an other world. And so I sort of found other bike references that had little bits and pieces that was like, oh, that's an interesting shape. I like the look of that exhaust, and cobble things together. But most of the time, Greg's a huge researcher, but I think he knows me well enough to know that I'm a huge visual researcher as well. So, I sort of had already explained the catalogue of things that I was amassing. But I don't actually know that we've shared that much. I don't think he's shared that much visual reference material with me. It's just he'll point me in the direction of something visual, or he'll just sort of say, she's got a gun, pulls out a gun. Yeah, like I literally halfway through issue 5, I sort of sent him an email saying, what kind of gun has Rowan got? Because I kind of faffed one in on the cover of issue 5, but now we're sort of getting down to the nitty gritty. We're seeing this up close. What do you reckon? And he was like, well, she's not going to pussyfoot around. Give her something hardcore, like this. And so I, Google image a whole bunch of different versions of that kind of model, and came up with something that I was like, oh, that's a bit shiny. That's a bit nice. I like that. And went from there.
I feel like that's how people buy guns anyway. They're like, oh, this one's nice and shiny. I like it.
Yeah, it's like that appeals to me visually.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of influences with designs, in terms of like Detective Black herself, I don't know about you, but I was wondering kind of what your influence was. I got kind of like a Joan Jett vibe, especially like early Runaways, like the denim jeans and the leather jacket. As soon as I saw like that kind of great little splash page on the motorcycle, I was like, oh, Joan Jett.
Oh, good, because that's exactly who I was referencing.
Excellent, perfect. Yes. That's awesome. That's the key to my heart right there.
Oh, good. Oh, well, great. That's fantastic.
You got a lifelong subscriber right there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where, Greg gives me so much character information, and really the only visual information was that she was raven-haired, she wore a leather jacket, and she rides a motorbike. And it's very easy to just draw long black hair and a leather jacket and a motorbike, and she just looked like every other brunette on a motorbike before. I feel like at this point in time we've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have something that was just not too ordinary. I knew I needed a really significant silhouette. I wanted to be able to draw her in silhouette and people know that it was her and not some random person. So that sort of came down to the haircut. And I wanted something that was sort of evocative of, we'll sort of come to know that she's a little, not out of time, but there's a reason why her style might feel a little, not dated, but just not necessarily contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to sort of have influences, and so I sort of went for that mid-70s look just because it was pretty rock and roll. She's a bit of a rock and roll kind of person, and it gave a really nice silhouette. But I drew a lot of faces before I found the right face and the right haircut. But once I did, I was like, oh my God, there she is. There she is.
Yeah.
That's what I want her to look like.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. It's funny. The haircut was for me, like, that was the Joan Jett giveaway. There's a very kind of distinct 70s, like, Runaways haircut that she had that was like, it always looks like she just came off stage, like, kicking ass. Her hair is just kind of just falling in that perfect, kind of thing. It was, great.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Now, spoilers for anyone who hasn't read issue 4. I guess skip ahead for like a minute or so. But at the end of issue 4, stuff starts to go really, boom, bananas. Are we gonna see some more outlandish and kind of otherworldly things going into the finale of the arc into issue 5?
Well, yeah, we've got to see how that scene plays out. The final scene of issue 4. We've got to see how that plays out, and what it means essentially. What's happening at the end of issue 4 is Alex is trying to really suss out who's behind this sort of attention getting. Someone's trying to get Rowan's attention and make her feel uncomfortable. And Alex is sort of doing what she can to assist. And issue 5 will pretty much give us the answer, or at least the beginning of the answer.
Now, you had mentioned that you and Greg Rucka had been kind of sitting on this, or at least percolating this idea for a long time. For our listeners who don't know, you had previously worked with him on the Blackest Night Wonder Woman miniseries.
Yeah.
How far back exactly did this, just the preliminary talks of Black Magick go?
I think he brought it up to me at San Diego Comic-Con in was either 2010 or 2011. On a Sunday night, we were just sort of, show was over, everything was winding down, and we were just sort of chilling at the bar. And we hadn't seen that much of each other. And I sort of said, what are you working on at the moment? And he told me about a couple of ideas, and one of them was Black Magick. And as soon as he said it's a witch noir story, I was like, whoa. Because witches are one of my sort of, they're probably my only vaguely occult interest, but with very specific parameters. There's not a lot of sort of witch fiction that speaks to me. I find a lot of it just sort of too fantasy. There's just too much fantasy, and I don't find it sort of dark and mean enough.
No hocus pocus.
Yeah, that's fun. I like the Wicca aspect, but I kind of want to take that commercial veneer off because, it's a religion. It's ancient, and it's kind of a little bit dirty, and it's the ideas of it have been corrupted by, Western religions and such. But it is still a pretty ancient, dirty, very, getting your hands into the earth kind of practice. And as soon as he sort of started, just with the first couple of sentences saying this to me, I was like, oh, who's drawing that? And at the time, he had been talking about it with Michael Lark. And I said to him, I asked him quite a few questions, and everything was ringing all my happy bells. And, I sort of left off with saying, look, if it doesn't pan out with Michael, let me know. And he didn't, but then, he and Michael started working on Lazarus. And a couple of years ago, I said to Greg, look, I'm getting ready to leave DC. I've had a really good run there, and I'm ready to do independent. Do you want to do something with me? And he was like, yes, I've been waiting for you for 10 years. And I was like, oh, okay, good. So what do you want to do? What have you got in store? And he said, well, I've been waiting for you for Black Magick. And I was like, well, you never told me this. Maybe I would have been here earlier. But so it was, he was thinking of me before I knew it was up for grabs.
What is it about kind of, is it the fact that witchcraft and Wicca are so, like you were saying, of the earth and ancient, and kind of has like a druid quality or Celtic quality in some cases, in some depictions? What is it about witchcraft that you find so intriguing?
I did a project on it for school when I was about 13, and the book that I used as my reference tool. So this is prior to sort of Wicca becoming a commercial. There just weren't a lot of books around at the time. And so the books that were around were sort of hardback editions of, they were very sort of academic. But in there just seemed something really intriguing in that uh, it was manipulation of the aspects of nature, and that sounded interesting. And the more I learned, it's a very sort of feminine um, practice. It's all about the moon cycles, and it's all about the earth, and it's all about sort of fertility. It's really seriously pagan, and the more that I read about it, the more it sort of spoke to me on a number of levels. I didn't have a religious upbringing, so I wasn't sort of trying to replace a religious practice with something that spoke to me more. So I've never sort of practiced Wicca or anything, but it's always intrigued me. And I find the aspects of witchcraft that really speak to me the most are the history of it. It is probably the earliest signs of religion are about fertility, and the witch doctors and stuff that were around, the sort of the shamans that would practice what was at the time their own religion and magic. It was generally women. They were in ancient times, before men knew their own role in reproduction. Women were very, they had the power because they had made babies.
Right.
And so there's sort of something really primal about that I find kind of really fascinating, especially in a modern context. By modern, I don't mean the feminist conversation that's happening right now, even though it does sort of play into that, but just sort of more the 20th century conversation of women's role in society.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of your work you've depicted, Black Magic, obviously Birds of Prey, and of course Wonder Woman. You've depicted really kind of kick-ass female characters. Is there something? How much of a kick do you kind of get out of that sort of thing? Because you also did like Superman and Earth 2, which was very male-centric. Was that kind of? Did that kind of scratch a testosterone itch, or was it just?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think for me, I grew up. I was a kid in the 70s and the 80s, and the 70s was pretty rich in new what was at the time like second wave feminism stuff, and there were a lot of kick-ass female characters, and they were my entry point into almost every geek interest that I have. Wonder Woman was the very first superhero that I saw, and I saw her on television. It was the Linda Carter, and that kind of really put me in the headspace of paying attention to superheroes. But she was at the time my very first, and she is still now the be-all and end-all. But it was followed by, Isis from the Shazam and Isis Hour, and Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. I was related the most to Princess from Battle of the Planets. I was into sort of female heroes. Even as far as, Bionic Woman, Charlie's Angels, I was into action women at a very young age. And so when I had made the decision to draw comics, I kind of angled myself towards DC Comics because Wonder Woman was there, but it was also kind of where the most sort of prominent, dominant female heroes were as well. The most independent female characters were. And, I just was very lucky when I got Birds of Prey as my first gig. Must have been a dream
come true, yeah.
Oh, it was amazing because, I got to work with Gail Simone on my first big job. And she and I had already known each other a little bit, and she sort of helped orchestrate getting me this job. It was on a great sort of book that I felt really perfect for, and I started on issue 100. It was kind of ridiculous that I get to have such a lucky entry point. But I then spent quite a few years doing female characters, kid characters, street-level team characters like Secret Sigs. So a lot of fringe stuff. And when the New 52 came around, and they were sort of asking their current creators who were sticking around, what would you like to work on? I said I'd like to work on Wonder Woman. They said no. And I said, well, I'd like to work on Nightwing, and they said no. And I said I'd like to work on Catwoman, and they said no. And I was like, okay, well, in that case, don't come to me with another team book, because I'd been doing almost exclusively team books at that point, unless it's a big male. I want something testosterone. I want a big boy book to see, one, if they would give me one, because I wasn't sure if I'd ever get one there, and two, if I could do it, because I just had never drawn that kind of action before. It always sort of been judo chops and karate kicks, and so I wanted to sort of see if I could really do some earth-shattering punches. And when they gave me Earth 2, it was like, okay, that's perfect, and I had a lot of fun with that.
Now, is there any DC character that you never really got a chance to really? I mean, because you had drawn Wonder Woman with Greg. Is there a DC character, I suppose, maybe Nightwing, who's my personal favorite, that you really wanted to take a crack at?
At some point, I absolutely want to have a go at Nightwing. I've only drawn him a few times in the books that I've worked on, but each time it's made an impact. So I wouldn't mind having a good go at that. I'd really like to have a go at Catwoman, because I feel like she is quite a sort of sexually aggressive character, and I'd love to see a female artist drawing a sexually aggressive female character, because I feel like a woman's perspective on what can be really sexual in a mainstream book is probably pretty different to what a guy thinks is pretty sexual.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm sure I could draw something that the guys will think is really sexy.
We are. I think I can speak for most of the heterosexual male population when I say we're relatively easy to please. But
right.
I do feel, without throwing anyone under the bus or going into specifics, I feel like that was something. I'd say the start of the big two, when it came to sexually aggressive or more sexually outgoing female characters, that DC kind of maybe didn't handle as well.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it would have been. Is there anybody? Now, you had mentioned that you always kind of naturally gravitated towards DC. Is there anybody in the Marvelous competition that you would like to take a crack at?
Yeah, for me, it always really depends on the writer. I've got some favorite characters, but I'm always happiest when I'm matched with the right writer, for the project and for me. I feel like there's the things that I can bring to the table that are my strengths. Some writers are really good at, and some writers aren't necessarily as concerned with. And when I feel like I'm with the right writer, it doesn't really matter what characters I'm drawing, because I know I'm going to have a great time. I'd love to do a Spider-Man run with Gail Simone. I think we'd do something really funny and sweet and, action-packed and dramatic. That would be a lot of fun. But then I can't see doing Spider-Man with that many other people as appealing.
And I do have to say, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, whenever you team up with Gail Simone, it's something special that comes out.
We have a lot of fun. We kind of speak the same language. We've got a very similar. She's probably a little more sentimental than I am, because I'm just not very. But when it comes to sort of what we find, where we see the edge of good taste or bad taste. Yeah, we're kind of the same. We like to really go right up to the edge and wave our hands over. And we do it in a similar way, and because of that, she will write.
Are you still there?
Draw them. I think to date, one of the most favorite things that I've drawn in mainstream was a scene in Secret Six, which was really uncomic booky. It was kind of Bane coming off drugs and Scandal Savage sort of putting him to bed, and that there was so much loaded into the scene in terms of care and obligation and intimacy that could so easily be misinterpreted as inappropriately sexual, or it could have just been easily misinterpreted. And when I read the script for that one, I sort of sent her an email straight away going, "Oh my God, that scene." And she was like, "I wouldn't have written that scene for anybody else, but I just know that you would nail it." So, she and I kind of understand each other pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean, for a book that was centered entirely on villains or anti-heroes, if I want, that really was. You guys did pack a lot of heart, both script and emotion-wise.
That was a really fun series. Every now and then, I'll sort of have I am reminded of various scenes. People still sort of talk about the series with me, and they'll remind me of a scene, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's right. God, that was really clever. Gal did something really clever there." Or, I thought of something really funny there. Because she writes, I don't even know if she knows that she's doing it half the time, but I feel like there's a lot of subtext in Gal's writing, and she's never shy of letting the subtext rise to the surface. So, I go mining for it anytime I read one of her scripts, trying to sort of pull up all kinds of, ridiculousness, because it makes me laugh.
I was wondering, so issue 5 caps off this first arc. Is there going to be any hiatus between arcs of Black Magick, or are you just right into issue 6?
Yeah, no, we're having, I think it's 3 or 4 months off in between each block, partly to give some buffer time for the trade and partly to give me catch-up time, because obviously with painting the series, I can't work as fast as I was when I was just penciling. It's almost not quite double the amount of time. I used to be able to do an issue in, say, 4 or 5 weeks when I was just penciling, and now I'm actually about 7 or 8 weeks per issue. So we'll have I think we've got nothing coming out in March. The trade for the first 5 issues will come out in April, and then nothing in May, and issue 6 is either June or July. I can't remember what was decided on for the schedule, and I think that will be our usual routine until we get to the end of the story.
Have you and Greg kind of discussed a natural... we have a lot of the Image guys on here, and a lot of them usually know exactly how the story ends before the first issue even hits. Have you guys talked about the eventual ending of Black Magick?
Yeah. When Greg very first told me about the series, he said, "This is how it starts and this is how it ends." And this is what it is in the middle that is the issue. And it was a big part of it was that, oh, right, that makes complete sense considering the subject matter. That is where we would end up. So I know exactly what the last page is. How we get there will be half the fun.
Now, something we ask everybody that's on the show: what are you currently geeking out over? Be it, music or movies or TV or books.
Oh gosh, so much. I find as an artist working from home, I consume a lot of content. Whether it's, music or audiobooks or TV shows, there's more often than not, or podcasts, there's more often than not a lot playing. So I could go on quite a while. What am I really into at the moment? I've had David Bowie's new album playing on high rotation, but then I think probably everybody is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite period of Bowie? Ziggy Stardust, I'm assuming, like most folks.
Yeah. I kind of really like his late 70s, early 80s stuff.
Berlin trilogy, sure.
Yeah. I think Heroes and Under Pressure are probably my 2 favorite songs. So that kind of era speaks to me a lot, because I was probably young enough then to be around, but old enough to sort of have those things have an impact on me at the time.
Kind of like us with Labyrinth, not to give our age away too bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was just a little bit too old for Labyrinth, but I still loved it. I was all in. What else? I listen to a lot of podcasts. At the moment, I've been listening to the new series 2 of Serial. I like WTF with Mark Maron.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the
It's
highest
great.
rated podcasts on iTunes.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. He does such a good job. What am I watching? I'm kind of watching everything at the moment. I'm really loving The Flash.
Oh yeah.
I think that's probably one of the best superhero shows on television.
I think it's
possibly ever.
I think, especially with our show, it's probably the one unanimously loved show.
Right.
Yeah, we're divided on Gotham.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Gotham. It's like I spend so much time thinking this is so camp, it's so ridiculous, but I'm pretty invested in it, even though I know it's ridiculous. I kind of, to me, I feel like Gotham is like a really even blend of the 3 distinct eras of Batman, be the 60s, the 80s, and the 2000s. You know, it's campy enough to fit into, Adam West Batman land. And it's, overly stylized like Tim Burton's Batman, and it's super dark and gritty like Christopher Nolan's. And I that in itself I find really kind of amusing.
Yeah.
I find Supergirl really sweet. It's obviously sort of skewed towards a slightly younger audience. But it's really sweet. It's got really sort of good messages, and it's very charming.
And it's got the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
Oh, and he looks amazing, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
That was pretty fun.
Speaking of sweet moments with Supergirl, Chris and I at one point were talking about in that show, one of the sweetest moments is when the I am conversations between Clark and Kara. And the first time they had that conversation where he says it'll be a job for Supergirl, it was just kind of like everything I've ever wanted in like the Superman mythos, but all for Supergirl, and just it was so charming. It was so wonderful.
Jake had watched that episode before me and was just like going like, oh man, this episode is where they got it. And I'm sitting there watching it, a couple nights later, and it hits that scene, and I pulled out my phone right away and I texted him, and I was like, that fucking conversation. And he was like, yeah.
That's it, right? Because that's who you want him to be for her, too.
Oh, exactly. I mean,
it's like, not getting in her way and not sort of patronizing, just sort of reminding her that he's there, but, she can do it.
Well, it's funny, too, because I feel like in terms of live action, it's kind of done Superman perfectly, for a guy who's not even on the show. This idea of, yes, he's this inspirational figure. You don't see him, in the pilot. You just see kind of that silhouette figure, and the idea of him kind of holding hands with her and taking her to the Danvers family. And yeah, it's almost kind of like the perfect live action Superman right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that a little bit of that hope and optimism that they talked about in Man of Steel actually appears in Henry Cavill's future. He's got such a beautiful, warm smile.
He does,
just like Superman should. But I don't know that he cracked a smile once in that movie.
Yeah,
maybe as Clark Kent he did.
Yeah, and that was the thing that killed me about Man of Steel was we don't really get to see his kind of Metropolis Clark Kent. Kind of like that charming reporter. Although I will say it does have one of my favorite final lines of a movie, the whole "Welcome to the Planet." Happy
that was
to be
very
here.
cute.
I was like, why wasn't that there the whole movie? The movie just ended,
Yeah.
But actually, I really wanted to talk to you just really quick. Speaking of Superman, kind of about your work on Superman. It's not every day you get to talk to somebody who has drawn this iconic character. And throughout the New 52, there's been some of my favorite, just kind of, you were talking about just Superman moments, whether it be just that first issue with George Perez, the kind of the loneliest man in the world moment at the end where he's in the elevator and he can hear Lois talking to her boyfriend and he just saved the world and he has no one to talk to. And then, the Jeff Johns stuff was great when he came back. But I mean, just the stuff that you touched on in issue 3, you kind of got to draw a summary of what we've all seen. You kind of got some of the Action Comics, the jeans and the T-shirt.
Hello?
Did you lose us?
We're still here.
Sorry, you dropped out for a little bit there.
Oh, okay. But kind of what you kind of got to do with issue 3 was this great kind of summary of what we've seen with Superman. You know, the kind of the Action Comics T-shirt and jeans. Him visiting the parents' grave, which was a really moving, sweet scene as Clark. And you did. I think you balance the quiet moments and like you were saying, the earth-shattering punches so well. And being one of my favorite Superman moments that you did was in issue 6, where you have kind of Lois talking to Clark, and he can hear her in space. And then, I mean, yeah, I'm a sucker for any of that kind of Superman stuff. But the moment that kind of is like the fist bump, like, oh, F yeah, is when Superman flies in like a bat out of hell to save Supergirl, to take out the imposter Superman. And everyone's like, it's Superman, he's back. And you get that great splash page. What's your kind of mindset going into taking on or drawing Superman, especially with George Perez?
Oh, look, it's such a loaded situation.
Yeah.
This was I was sort of waiting for the Earth 2 gig to kick in because I had already been assigned it 6 months earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're sort of like, we'll find some things for you to do. There are plenty of, books that need fill-in artists. And to find myself doing 3 issues of the first 6 of Superman.
Yeah.
And it's Superman. And it's with George, who I've met a few times, and he's always been so sweet to me. And, that was sort of, there's the pressure of the responsibility, but there's also that extraordinary feeling, and I get it every single time I draw the Shield.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I can't believe I'm drawing, this is my job. I get to draw the Shield, and it's canon, it's like it's the real deal.
Yeah,
I'm not just
amazing.
Doing it for fun. Certainly by issue 5 and 6 of Superman, George was sort of working old school Marvel way, with plots. I think for issue 3, I was sort of working from some thumbnails that he did, and I found that a little too confusing. But by issue 5, he just sort of said, do you mind working this way? And I was like, no, let's go for it. And that was really liberating. And you're sort of left with these great, it's a loaded story. It's the pointy end of the story. And it's Superman. So you kind of really have to deliver on the essence of him and the readership's expectations of him. How he should represent. I'm really impressed by artists who can do really dark, gritty, moments with Superman art, but it doesn't necessarily speak to the character. And so I was sort of trying to find shiny, bright moments in there. I was hoping to get more smiles, but that just wasn't meant to be in the New 52 that much. But yeah, no, it's a real honor to sort of work with George on Superman. It's kind of ridiculous, really.
Yeah, well, you definitely delivered, in my opinion, for the Superman stuff. It was really.
Thank you
stuff.
very much.
I should have asked this to Tim Seeley when we had him on, but as someone that's a fan of The Flash and Batman that has worked, at least drawn both of them in some capacity. I mean, you have Wonder Woman lock lips with Batman, but which is awesome because I'm a huge Batman fan and a Wonder Woman fan. It's like
a huge Batman Wonder Woman shipper.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
yeah, me too. Well, you know how that came about. Greg and I were working on Blackest Night, and I was sort of halfway through issue 1. Working on it when he came out to Australia for a convention, and someone had booked a commission of Batman and Wonder Woman kissing, and so I was drawing this commission while he was sitting next to me, and he was like, one day you have to draw one of those for me. And I was like, Greg, write it into a story somewhere and I'll draw it for you for real, and you can have the original art page. And he was like, you know what, we could do that at the end of issue 2. And I was like, how are you going to do that at the issue 2 at the end? And he sort of told me how he reckoned he could fit it in. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I can see you bending it to make sense in that way. But how are you going to get it past editorial? And he was like, Eddie Begans is editing this, and he totally ships Batman and Wonder Woman together. And I was like, well, if you can write it and you can sell it to him and he will approve it, I will draw the fuck out of that picture.
Good.
Hey DC, enough with the Superman Wonder Woman. Give me Batman Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I know Superman and Wonder Woman should not be in a relationship.
Not as
Like,
long
I
as
do
Lois
not
Lane's
want
around.
either Lois or Wonder Woman having sloppy seconds of Superman, because that's just not how it should be.
Yeah, if Lois
And-
or Lana's there.
Yeah, and they're. I understand why people think that they're really perfect for each other, but to me, they're best mates. They're like brother and sister.
They can relate.
They have so much care. Yeah, they have so much care and love for each other. But I don't in any way see it as sexual. They're too. No.
Yeah.
No.
It always
Where
rubs
with
me. It always
Superman,
rubs
with
me
Batman and Wonder Woman, it makes complete sense to me because it's never going to really amount to a lot because both of them have their own agenda.
weird. Too driven.
But they kind of fulfill what the other would need or find intriguing in a partner.
That was something that I always liked that they kind of snuck in the Justice League cartoon. You know that they
Yeah, that
kinda
they
had
would
a love
flirt with
interest.
each other all the
Yeah.
time.
But
Yeah,
to-
I'm hoping that'll appear in the new movie.
Yeah,
Certainly seems like they're, possibly skewing that way.
Gal
Yeah.
Gadot does shoot Bruce Wayne kind of a look in that one trailer when she's getting in the car.
yeah, fingers
So-
crossed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
we'll
was a
see.
still from one of the a still from the film that came out a while ago, like a few months ago, of them quite close together. Again, they're all dressed up, so yet another gala that they're off to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty interesting, and that they're on each other's radar. That sort of, I'm very intrigued by this new film. I hope to God it's good.
Yeah.
I-
Hopefully they'll make Doomsday look better.
Yeah.
Well, I'm presuming that's kind of like embryo Doomsday,
Yeah.
and by the time he goes down, which I'm presuming is going to happen at some point,
Yeah. No, he wins.
He's a real bone monster.
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you seen the Wonder Woman footage they showed on that DC 30-minute kind of
Have
thing?
I seen it? Are you kidding me? I watched that over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised by how excited I got because what I have seen in reality of Gal Gadot in person, Gal Gadot walking while they were making the Batman Superman at San Diego, they brought them out. This is like not last year but the year before. They brought she and Henry and Ben out on stage, and they didn't say anything. They just sort of walked out, but she had a real swagger. And I was like, oh, that's not what I expected, and she's quite beautiful. I like that she's got a really thick accent. I really like the outfit. I think it's fantastic. And while I've been really confused by the World War I setting, I think I can understand the reasoning behind it. They want to separate it from Captain America because, Steve Rogers beat them to it. Marvel beat them to it. But it's also they're playing into the sort of suffragette movement. And that is an interesting theme. And I really like that she's got the outfit on in World War One.
Yeah.
And I was having sort of really let go of the Diana Prince secret identity, because she doesn't really have it in the books or in the cartoons. I can't tell you how nostalgic I felt to see her in that shot with her trying on glasses, and I was like, oh, it's just like Linda Carter, it was so
Yeah.
cute.
I mean, Linda Carter.
I was like, oh,
yeah.
I can really buy it there. She might not be doing it so hardcore in modern time, but back then, that's kind of really sweet.
And speaking of her outfit, I love that they gave her pants. I never really.
When did she have pants?
She has the doesn't she have the?
Well, it goes down to her.
It's not just the unitard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Or-
like she's got like a battle skirt.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah.
That. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm misremembering. Yeah, but
Kind
they
of closer
gave her,
to Xena Warrior Princess.
exactly. It's not just a one piece swimsuit that she's running around in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I've been drawing the battle skirt myself for a while, and I've kept it sort of short, and I've kept it in minimal pieces, and in fact in Earth 2, in issue 1 of it,
You dropped out.
10 years, waiting for my turn to sort of really have a go at Wonder Woman, was where I sort of said here's my version. The movie outfit isn't that much different, so I was kind of really happy about that.
Feather in the cap right there.
Yeah, I
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm certainly not going to get any credit for it, and I'm not expecting any. But yeah, it was sort of nice to see that we were on the same page in terms of this is how I think the outfit could really work, and they've done something quite similar.
I think the single shot I've watched more than anything from any of the Batman v Superman trailers is the shot of her on the horse pulling out her sword, like galloping
Yes.
towards the Germans. I was like, just give me this movie already. I love
I know,
Superman,
right?
but I'm more excited to see Wonder Woman, like the shot in the trailer where she has the shield and she pops out behind it and stops that blast. Like, I'm just so ready to see Wonder Woman.
That was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting, and I will be a little disappointed if we don't get it, a bit of a slow-mo version of Wonder Woman issue 1 on the back of the horse
Oh yeah.
with the lasso or the spear. It's such a sort of great iconic image of her kind of, the horse leaping over whatever it is,
I'm surprised we haven't seen the last
German soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, none of the shots that we saw were effect shots.
That's true.
And I'm presuming, they're only halfway through filming now. I'm presuming that they...
Yeah.
Sorry?
They haven't.
They haven't gotten to the half with the lasso.
Yeah, I was so happy to see that she's got it, and now I want to see what she does with it. What comes of it. I was having a little bit of a theory of my own the other day that maybe in the Batman v Superman trailer, the Batman Nightmare scenes with the parademons and the Omega symbol and all that kind of business, could that possibly be him in the lasso seeing the potential future of he and Clark not getting along?
I like that.
That's cool.
I like that a lot.
I like that
You know
better
what I
than
mean?
just him
I-
having
you
a
know.
bad dream.
I like that better than anything in Man of Steel.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, it seems like more than a bad dream. It seems really prophetic, and
Like-
Batman's not really known for having prophetic dreams. So, what could induce something like that?
Yeah, that's great.
A little bit of magic could possibly bring it along. So,
'Cause
maybe.
we were kind of speculating on that front of like this could be where like kind of piggybacking off what you were saying with the lasso, like, hey, if you two boys don't get your act together and stop fighting, this is very well where we could be leading to. Like this is what happens
Yeah.
if Batman and Superman stop Ving and start teaming up.
Yeah, you're gonna have bigger fish to fry, boys.
Yeah.
Now the big thing I was going to ask.
Oh, right, sorry.
Yeah, there was to kind of cycle back
There
about.
was a question like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, sure.
No, I can geek out about Wonder Woman all day, but yeah, because I mean, shoot, Linda Carter starts out fighting Nazis, like have Gal Gadot take on Germans. Anyway,
Yeah, right on.
yeah. So I feel like everybody's answer is different.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite Flash villain, and what's your favorite Batman villain?
Oh shit.
Good response.
Favorite Flash villain. Oh man. I've kind of got a soft spot for what's his name? Is it Trickster?
Yeah.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah. There's sort of something really a bit sad and charming about his character and how Barry treats him. Not so much in the show. I don't know that they've got to it yet, but in the comics, I've got a real soft spot for how Barry's relationship with his villains.
Yeah.
That he's sort of, he's like a AA sponsor.
They had a beautiful scene in one of the Justice League cartoons where I think it's Wally West is the
Justice
Flash
League,
in the
yeah.
Justice League.
Yeah.
And he
Love Wally.
he's in a bar and he meets up with the Trickster, and I think the Trickster has been kind of shoved to the side by the other rogues.
Yes.
Gallery, and so Wally just asks him where like Captain Cold and everyone are, and Trickster's like, oh, they're off doing this, and he's like, all right, hey Trix, make sure to turn yourself in or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I got it, Flash, and it was like, it
Yeah.
was such a cute scene.
It's so cute.
And
Yeah,
I
so,
love that it was the Trickster too, because it
it
makes
totally was,
it
yeah.
makes sense that it was the Trickster, that's
Yeah.
the kind of conversation that they would have, and that Wally would then walk away and just trust that he would do the right thing.
Yeah, leave him to it. Yeah, no, I've got a lot of time for that kind of dynamic. And when it comes to Batman villains, there's so many good ones.
Yeah, because for my money, nobody has better villains than Batman. Spider-Man comes close.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like DC in general have much better villains, but Batman has the pinnacle of all the villains. You know, it's obviously, I actually do think that the best villain in all of comics is the Joker.
Oh yeah,
because there's just so much room to move with that character. So many different interpretations that all actually ring true. So you know, it's hard to go past the Joker, but
okay, maybe favorite Batman villain, not the Joker.
Yeah,
not the Joker.
Like, yeah.
Oh, look, again, there are a few, but I would have to say Catwoman, because I like the ambiguous nature of her and their relationship. It's really complex. And I find that, again, there's so much great material there. There's so many different ways to play that relationship depending on, you know, what kind of Batman you're writing and what kind of Catwoman you're writing and what kind of Gotham City context you're writing them in. You know, it can be super gothic, it can be super modern.
As long as it's not
I find
Halle
that's
Berry.
a really complex dynamic that can be really well utilized. It can also be, you know, pretty well fucked up, but
yeah, sure. I think the cool thing about Catwoman is, like, in a world of like black and white villains, like heroes on the side of light, like Catwoman is like the ultimate shade of gray cutting through the center of DC.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, no alliances, just, you know, she's a perfect grifter. I actually think that was the best thing of Dark Knight Rises, was their writing and understanding of who the Selena Kyle character is.
Are you more team Anne Hathaway or more team Michelle Pfeiffer?
Oh, when it comes to a woman wearing the outfit, absolutely Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
You know, she's and she fit perfectly into that Tim Burton world. And it's such a crazy outfit, and the origin of the outfit is so ridiculous, and you know, there's so much fun to be had there. And while I don't actually think that Anne Hathaway was the right casting for Selena, I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
You know, I would probably have cast somebody else. But she did a really good job. You know, that scene in the bar where she's sort of handing over the fingerprints and she's brought in the sort of drunk senator.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, she's playing every odd. And I love that, you know, how she gets out of the room. She's amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
Very clever writing.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of to sign us out, the 5th issue of Black Magick comes out February 24th. What could you kind of tease? I mean, like you were saying, it's kind of the build up or the payoff of that confrontation at the end of issue 4. What is there anything you can really tease without giving the game away in issue 5?
We very subtly get at the beginning of the issue a nudge to what is potentially on the horizon for the next arc. And really the closer of the issue is where we are introduced to our actual adversaries.
They're facing the cards start to be turned over.
Yeah, we won't necessarily understand, but there they will be.
Excellent. Well, Nicola Scott, thank you for coming on the show.
That's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. If you ever want to come plug something else, you know, we'd love to have you back on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. What a delightful interview.
Indeed.
I thought that was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed
One
that.
of our best.
Yeah,
did.
I mean, I don't know if we've ever had anybody on the show that's like as big a Wonder Woman fan.
No, that was exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that thing.
and we fucking love Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing she talked about with like the lasso of truth in Batman,
Oh,
that was pretty cool.
that I hope that's a thing, man.
Me too.
So I mean, what have you guys been up to in the past week? I saw Muse in concert.
That's right.
That was cool. They played in the round.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I got their every album or every ticket came with their album.
That's
I
awesome.
was gonna say for free, but it was built into the ticket price.
At no extra charge.
Still need to check that one out.
Yeah, it's pretty good if you ever want to borrow it.
Yeah.
And listen to it.
Well, that's cool too because I think this is the first tour they've done in the round. They've never done that before.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
there's
sweet.
something just cool about that.
I mean, yeah. I think from what I've seen, like Metallica and stuff when they've done it and other bands, like it just seems like a lot of fun because they can get a good reaction and a good good crowd, just everything from all around. There's no kind of like off limits.
The closest to a show in the round that I've gotten was the 11-11-11 show with Foo Fighters, where Dave Grohl had his own separate little like mini stage out in the middle.
That was
of
awesome.
The crowd.
Yeah, it does wheels.
Yeah. He also did Best of You
He starts the first, and then
because like no one's paying
comes in.
attention. Yeah, and then he just kicks in and does the famous Dave Grohl run across the stage. He was just like
Last time we saw him, he couldn't run.
No,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he was on the
he
throne.
wheeled himself out.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you guys do anything for the Super Bowl? I beat the first half of Mega Man 2.
Nice. I was stuck at my theater for most of the day, and basically got relieved right at kickoff. So a couple of my coworkers were like, "Hey, we live right across the street. We're doing having a get together. You should come on over." And I was like, "All right, cool, yeah." So I went over there, and on the way, grabbed some wings because didn't want to come empty-handed. It was a potluck, and then so like there was a camp of people that were like really into the game because they were hardcore Broncos fans, and then no one else really cared about football, or like there were some people that were like, yeah, check it out, watch it, check out the commercials and all that stuff, but like for the most part, like everyone else is just kind of chit-chatting until someone busted out Cards Against Humanity, and then we pretty much played that for the rest of the night. So that's what I did.
Nice. I kept just kept it local and lazy, and just kind of sat and watched. I really didn't watch much like pregame stuff. Like some years I'll sit and watch like all day pregame, which is just old football players guessing at what's going to happen. But
it's the most like self-indulgent thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the pregame started like a week ago. They have like the media day and all that kind of stuff. But I thought it was okay. I mean, I thought last year's Super Bowl was more kind of fun to the last second. The Patriots and the Seahawks, and the interception was cool. And we got some cool trailers, I guess, during commercials. The Super Bowl's almost as famous for now.
Iron Man with the Iron Man glove.
Yeah, and he catches a bullet. Yeah, and got a little bit more Black Panther, I guess.
Winks at the audience like Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, but I mean,
not really. It looks like flabbergasted. Like, oh Jesus Christ!
Was that just during the pregame, or was that during the Super
the
Bowl?
trailer happened? The trailer happened right before kickoff, which was like prime time.
Okay, yeah, no, I since I didn't watch the Super Bowl like at live. I came back home. I DVR'd it on my own machine, and I was rewatching it. And in my head, I was like, the good commercials aren't going to start until after the game's already begun. So I just skipped ahead to post kickoff.
Yeah.
So I missed that.
It was like they like, all right, we'll be back with the kickoff, and it was like boom. It was like
the
capture. I was like, oh shit.
I did see the 10 Cloverfield Lane trailer. Yeah. Like I was about to hit fast forward, and then that happened because I think that happened right after. That was after Lady Gaga.
Yeah, that was fairly early.
So like, I saw it and
she
I was
rocked it.
Sure, I skipped through that because I don't need to prove that I love my country.
Oh God!
Because I love my country.
Yeah. He's not wrong, Sam.
He's wrong. Just like I don't have like points at Lady Gaga.
Not saying that she had to either. I'm just
she did.
It's previously recorded.
I was about to say, this is how you keep your citizenship in the United States if you're a celebrity, right? You have to sing the national anthem every few Super Bowl games.
Let's not get political. But yeah, no. So I was like, I know this song, whatever. And skipped ahead, and I saw I saw the 10 to Cloverfield Lane, and I was like, oh, okay. Watch that. The second trailer. It's a new trailer. Makes it look even cooler.
More plot to it, right?
Yeah.
Or at least sort of lack of kind of plot.
No, well, what it reveals in the trailer is that John Goodman and what's her name,
Mary Elizabeth Weinstein.
Yes, are not related. She just she's just running in a field in the beginning of the thing, and then she falls out, trips, knocks herself out, and then wakes up inside John Goodman's safety vault thing, and he's explaining what's going on. And I was like, ooh, that makes it even cooler.
So
to me. It sounds more interesting.
I've seen bits of it without any audio, and I get the feeling this is still somehow connected to the original Cloverfield film.
I assume it is, since they use the word Cloverfield.
Yeah, and the hashtag is #Cloverfield.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they could just be we're using the title, but it's really not in any way related to it.
That would be dumb.
Could.
That would be unfortunate.
I mean,
Well, I mean, like you said, that Goodman's character explains
why she's in a vault, not explains what's going on.
But his explanation is,
I always knew I was going to need a vault.
Huh. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Basically, he just says he without explaining exactly what's going on. He's saying, he basically explains some shit is going on outside, and I have this bomb shelter or whatever it is, and we're going to be holed up here for a while.
Okay.
My take on it, my assumption based on the trailer, and this was the same since the first trailer, is that this is just a story about another. Well, my first assumption was it's the story of this family's, riding out the monster attack that we see in the first movie. The only thing that's changed now is that it's not a family.
Right.
But my assumption is still the same. We're just watching a different perspective of the same events.
Okay.
And this time it's not shitty found footage.
Yet.
Well, I mean, it's locked off cameras.
Well,
Yet.
yeah. I don't know. And all of a sudden, John Goodman's like, somebody needs to record this. Just like HUD.
Could happen.
Yeah.
It could. J.J. Abrams could the movie could start and it could just be J.J. Abrams giving us the finger.
Yeah, whoever did plan when the commercials would air, which ones would air at certain points, I feel dropped the ball this Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, it's a live event. You can't really decide things that specific. You can, at best, you can decide what order the commercials go in. And I'm sure there's certain things that are you pay to make sure that it's done during the first half, or you pay to make sure that it's done before or after the coin toss.
Right.
Maybe J.J. Abrams was before the coin toss.
But from what I'm hearing of when the ones I was most excited to see that I knew about, I feel the Super Bowl trailers or commercials blew their load early.
I'm sorry that they did not cater to your specific needs.
Well, they also probably did that because they knew most people would be tuning in to start.
It's a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the end of the game, nobody's fucking watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone. The only people that are watching the second half are people that actually care about football.
Yeah. To be fair, the team cap was trending before the trailer even dropped.
Yeah.
Well, Marvel put it out before.
Well, they did. I mean, I figured, but yeah.
We saw a film.
A film Defoe? Oh, we did. That's right. Yeah.
That was one of the first commercials, and it was one of my favorite.
Yeah.
The Snickers commercial with
yeah.
Willem Dafoe
as Marilyn
as
Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But we did see
and then
a film.
Eugene Levy
Yeah.
as the lighting guy or the fan guy.
Huh.
We saw Room.
We did.
So I've seen all the Best Picture nominees now. Not that it counts for anything. But the I mean, it was good, but
I don't know if it was my fault.
was it all the hype?
That's because we were talking about it afterwards that we kind of did this to ourselves. I mean, I remember when the trailer came out. I like Brie Larson. I think we all like Brie Larson.
Mm-hmm. Except Josh. Josh fucking hates Brie Larson.
I'm indifferent.
Okay. But
I fucking hates it.
Because she pushed all the Super Bowl commercials
She was the
he
one.
wanted. She's she pulls a switch. She's like, this motherfucker's indifferent to my work.
Yeah, you didn't see me in the
This
league.
This motherfucker's not going to get to Sam's house early enough to see this commercial.
You didn't see 21 Jump Street.
You You didn't watch United States of Terror?
Nope.
But
You should. It's actually really good.
it was
You'd like it.
it was a movie where I feel like, yeah, we kind of might have hyped it up a bit because it was a movie that was kind of hard to get to see for a while.
And all the analysts were like, Brie Larson is a lock
Yeah.
for Best Actress.
And she will most likely win it. And
it's going to be between her and Kate Blanchett.
yeah, and it's not something I'm like, she was very, very good in it. I would say though, Jacob Tremblay was, I think, the more stand-up performance.
I was gonna say a better lock for
Best actress.
Best actress.
Well, he carries the film. It's very much, as Sam was saying afterwards, we were talking about like, from his point of view, so it has kind of that childish quality to it.
Yeah, I mean, some horrific stuff happens, but since it's told from the child's perspective, as adults we know what's going on, but the way it's staged, he just thinks like he doesn't quite know, which is quite merciful.
And there's some really kind of stunning, powerful moments in it. But yeah, I mean, I think we kind of just left and our kind of thing as wrapping up kind of the 2015 and award season was like, would that be in your top 10? Would you buy it? Our kind of questions, and it was both kind of no, for both of us. And again, it's not saying the movie wasn't worth it, but it was good, solid good.
I honestly preferred Brooklyn.
I mean that's the only one I haven't seen now, and it's kind of like I feel like I should just see it because it's the only one.
It's the Fairfax Corner.
Yeah,
Catch
my mom really wants to see it too.
Yeah.
Catch it.
Yeah, gotta catch them all. We saw the Pokemon trailer.
Which was more of just
They leaked that weeks in advance.
That and also, and it was more of just a, hey, Pokemon's been here for 20 years.
Yeah, they're supposed to announce the date.
I was expecting, and I didn't watch it ahead of time because I hate spoilers and whatnot. Like I wanted to see it for the Super Bowl. Anyway, but I was expecting kind of like and by the way, Pokemon Go is going to come out next week or something like that. Right? I'm not even that huge of a Pokemon person anymore, but I am super hyped for Pokemon Go.
I'm like straight up like 151. Like once you start to throw like the gold and silver stuff in there, it's like what?
Yeah.
I'm excited for all the insanity that comes out of Go and all the really hilarious reports of like someone tried to do something really stupid to get this Pokemon and here's what happened.
You mean like when people would get hit by cars trying to play Ingress?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Because there was a waypoint right there.
Because they were stupid.
Yeah, I played Ingress.
I played it for about 5 minutes.
I played it for like 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't really care for it. Our friend Nick loves it. Bouncer Nick.
Oh yeah. Wonderful dancer.
Yeah, he can cut a rug. He can also sing Hootie and the Blowfish pretty well.
Because he is Darius Rucker.
That's the theory. Or is it fair?
That's my headcanon. If I may use fan fiction terminology.
Of course.
You shouldn't let me.
Okay. But yeah, so, I mean, anybody else do anything interesting this past week?
No, not really.
I caught up on a new show on Fox.
Oh.
Called
Explain.
X-Files?
No, called Second Chance. I mean, I am still keeping current with X-Files.
I did finally catch up with X-Files, actually. That's something I did this week. And the third episode, the most recent one as of airing, or not airing, as of recording, because I think they're airing the new one right now. Hilarious. Loved it. It was a lot of people said that this was like one of the funny episodes they've done.
Pure fan service in this episode.
Yeah, and they were totally right. And it had the fucking manager from Flight of the Conchords.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, the lizard man was the manager for
The
Flight of the
Were
Conchords.
Monster.
Yeah.
Darby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I really wanted him to say Brit.
I was kind of thinking, because I've been rewatching the X-Files, kind of like you did a couple months ago. They don't really win that often, do they?
No, they do not.
That's one of the cool things about the show.
And even when they win, they kind of can't. Like, just it's
government
impossible.
Or the evil can't be vanquished.
Mm-hmm. Like so like the best they can like 75% of the time, the best they can do is figure out what's going on. They don't. I think they only like quote unquote win about 5% of the time. And that's like, oh, we killed Toombs. Yeah. After he killed 10 people, he
gets that. He only kills one person in that last episode.
Yeah, but history.
Again, with the thing of like the show, it's like really aren't supposed to be winning. There's, because
Yeah,
they're
more
FBI agents
explorers.
first. They're supposed to close cases.
Which would be winning.
Well,
what we're saying is they don't even close cases.
My thing is, like, how often does the federal government get in the way? Like, just when the going gets good, how often does the evil escape, or we find out the evil is lurking somewhere? Like that one episode where they find the school board that's secretly satanic worshipers.
Yes.
And the substitute teacher they find out at the end of the episode was
Behemoth or whatever,
Yeah.
one of the higher demons.
Yeah.
She's the one that wins.
Yeah, because the last thing they see in that episode is after all the other cultists are dead, they go into her classroom and it just says "nice working with you" on the chalkboard, and they're just like, God damn it.
She was the evil one.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. Even though they technically in a
Obviously they walk away.
Yeah, in a moral sense, the bad guys that they were there to vanquish are vanquished, but they aren't the ones that did it.
Or the evil
literally-
escapes, or the evil survives somehow.
Yeah.
yeah.
So they don't win.
In the sense of or to put it in more terms that you might get, how often do they get total victory?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking again,
Tombs.
they're not superheroes. They're not being called in to kill someone or
Yeah,
stop an evil megalomaniac.
They're
feds.
But they never arrest anyone.
Okay, yeah, well if their case is to
Should be the tagline.
Yeah.
solve
X-Files,
something
they never
and
arrest
then
someone.
they happen to find out it's some actual serial killer and then he gets away. Okay, yeah, that's
Well,
fine.
yeah,
That's a
and-
loss.
and
Look at Home.
Well, he won't.
Okay, but in Home, they escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I consider it a win for them.
And you know what?
Scully
and
Mulder got
that's-
away with their lives.
And that's where arguments with Josh just diminish because he has his definition.
Yeah, I
and
can't.
he,
yeah,
and he
I'm not
sticks
going
to
to
it.
budge. All right, fine.
I mean, this the
And
case.
neither will Sam.
Do they have
And
a
neither will
reasoning
you,
for
buddy
what their
boy.
X-Files case was, and can they say, okay, we found out what it was, and we can close the case on that? Did we get the guy? No, but we closed the case.
More or less.
Like I said,
I mean, in
they
their
know.
bureaucracy, that's considered a win.
Does anybody ever win in a bureaucracy?
No, the bureaucrats.
I don't even know if
bureaucrats.
yeah. So
I made a list of all the commercials that I liked and disliked in the Super Bowl. If anyone wants to hear that,
All I want to know is where does the Mike Tyson one fall?
dude, that was probably number one.
for
It's
all
for real my
non
favorite.
yeah for all non-local listeners,
Yeah,
there was a Mike Tyson commercial for a local plumbing firm, agency, whatever the fuck they're called.
I think it's
Agency, sure.
Firm. I like that. I like that better.
an LLC.
Yeah, called Michael and Son.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend. I'm sure it's up online.
And they played it twice during it.
Yeah.
So I was glad to stick it to the end.
Definitely pay attention to Mike Tyson's jingle at the end because he sings their song, which if you can't, we can. Michael and Sons.
Yeah.
Watch it because there is a jump cut there and it is very jarring. But he is so happy when he says Michael and Sons.
Isn't
he?
I love Happy Act 2 Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
He's my favorite. And just that jingle just really quick reminded me, watch Mike Tyson's Mysteries on Adult Swim. It is some of the most fun you'll ever have watching anything.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Now, where does the dog, monkey, baby
Oh my god.
abnormality?
Where let me pull up what I wrote about it.
It worked because people are talking about
Yeah,
it. That's
right.
for sure.
When
For
the
like
fuck-
the live wire.
Oh, okay.
Mountain
No,
Dew.
I'm sorry. It was just it was Kickstart something or other.
Yeah,
it was
I've
just
had it before.
puppy monkey baby.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
That about sums
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Who
That and the,
who greenlit that?
That and the Doritos, baby.
Yeah, I have
Doritos baby. Yeah.
that. My wrote Doritos ultrasound fucking awkward.
Yeah.
PayPal, you're not new.
Or speaking of babies, how about the NFL being proud
Oh
of
my
Super
God.
Bowl
Super Bowl babies.
Every single time they brought back that commercial, like it was like a different team or whatever, I was like, this is just more and more awkward. And then like third quarter, fourth quarter, they fucking had a song where like these people are talking about their parents banging just because their team won. I was like, ugh.
Well, I got really nervous because I'm a Giants fan. My dad's a Giants fan, and the Giants won in '86. But I realized I was already alive. Otherwise, I would have been a New York Giant Super Bowl baby.
Which was one of the teams featured.
Yeah. Well, again, I was already born. Yeah.
But when I first saw that, I thought this has got to be like at the very end. It's going to be like Trojan showing up and be like,
right?
Don't be one of these kids.
Don't be, yeah.
Don't.
All these kids just like hang their heads.
Don't
in
be
shame.
a Denver kid.
That one baby that
And
looked
it's
like
like-
Russell Wilson.
And it's like it's an actual commercial, and it's like this is right up there because they also had one for like domestic abuse, and it's kind of like this NFL's giving out really weird messages.
That one wasn't pro domestic abuse. Though.
Well, no, it's like anti-domestic dispute, but it's like the NFL's giving out really weird messages with their own commercials this year.
As long as we're not misconstruing that with mixed messages.
Well, the big problem with the NFL went real heavy on the domestic abuse stuff after the Ray Rice video leak.
Yeah.
It was more of a cover your ass move.
Yeah, that was a PR move, and then I think the Super Bowl babies was more of like on a lighter note.
Yeah.
Well, again,
You should have sex right after this game or during.
Yeah.
Because nobody's winning.
Well, the other thing too is like it's Super Bowl 50. You know, I did like, just on a quick note on the football side, I did like that they brought out all the Super Bowl MVPs before the game, and it was fascinating to me that it was kind of morbid, but like that only one has passed away. Like, you know, in the 50 Super Bowl, I mean, granted, there's been multiple ones, but I thought that was kind of cool. Like, I liked that kind of the legacy status of these Super Bowl MVPs and handing off the Lombardi Trophy at the end as they awkwardly walk through all the players, kissing and going, yeah, yeah, and then, you know, Joe Namath is there. I thought that was cool.
One of my other highlights of the commercials was Jeff Goldblum singing the Jeffersons theme.
Yeah.
That was
With
fun.
George Washington and
Yeah. I bet you were excited.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
I
Wheezy.
had seen little clips of it before. They're like, "Get ready," and I'm like, "What is this even for?"
And then Michael Pena in a Bud Light commercial.
That's right.
That was exciting.
Amy Schumer and Seth
Yeah.
Rogen.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd shows up in that commercial too.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves Paul Rudd.
Yep.
I guess the new Turtles movie looks better than the first one.
If only because it has Krang.
Yeah.
Called it.
It looked like, I mean, that one just looked like a straight video game, you know?
I feel like that was announced too.
Yeah, I feel
It
like
was,
a lot-
yeah,
basically everybody said that.
And I'm really tired of this. I'm really tired of the Steve Harvey joke. T-Mobile,
He's not.
T-Mobile. Yeah, I know, right? Good, more power to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's
But
having
that's
fun
like
with it.
Kanye coming out and being like, "I'm gonna let you finish," and fuck that too. I fucking hated that as soon as he said it, and then people making jokes about it just made it worse. I don't know.
Steve Harvey.
And then Colonial Williamsburg. What the fuck was up with that commercial?
Again, another beautiful local only one.
Was it local? Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows? We're not. You know, not local.
No, there were people that wrote up reviews about it.
Oh, that's right. You know what?
It was a
Oscar,
local.
Oh,
our friend Oscar was like, for those of you that didn't see it, so maybe it was a local commercial. But yeah,
Because I thought I had heard something where they're like, they put out a national spot. But if it, I
Yeah.
mean, I haven't been.
it might have
reading
been it might have been like a regional spot or something like that. You know, so like more than just Virginia saw it.
because it's actually like the tourist capital, one of the tourist capitals of the country.
Yeah, because it is Colonial Williamsburg. That's
Josh-
where it all started.
I know Josh must have been digging the Wiener Dog one.
Right? I wrote that
As soon as
down.
I saw that, I was like, Josh had to love
Josh's
that
favorite
commercial.
commercial.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
almost cried during it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Classic. It was like a ketchup commercial or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heinz.
Heinz.
Heinz ketchup. And because Heinz has its own mustard now. Even though they've had it for like a year.
What are because it's Heinz 57, right?
Yes.
What are the other 56?
Discontinued.
Not ketchup?
Yeah, no, there are other condiments other than ketchup, but they pretty much don't make anymore. Like they have a like a horseradish.
It's like if Baskin Robbins had like 31 flavors, but they discontinued everything but French vanilla.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean, I'd just be like,
I mean, I'd be all right with
yeah,
it.
it's like fuck it. I don't like rum raisins.
They also have more than 32 flavors now.
well, it's monthly, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the question taught me that.
Yeah.
Aha, 33.
But
Yeah.
so
Oh, and thank you, Helen Mirren, for telling me not to drink and drive.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't do it, kids.
Yeah. Oh, and as an honorable mention, I did like the Death Wish coffee commercial. Cool Viking ad, you know, but I thought it was really cool that Intuit, the tax software company, they were the ones that sponsored that ad. Like, I've seen Death Wish coffee popping up a lot on like Facebook and things like that. They're a very tiny company. They wouldn't have been able to afford a Super Bowl ad.
They won a contest.
Yeah, the fact that Intuit was like, here you go, We'll pay the 5.6 million or whatever the fuck it was.
Well done.
And also, Walken makes the best car commercial.
Oh yeah, and Anthony Hopkins did the TurboTax.
Yeah,
Yeah, with his own dog.
Mm.
But yeah,
That's my piece on the commercials. Everyone, all the other ones sucked.
yeah. I don't know.
They were probably mediocre.
It was kind of lackluster. There's a reason again why I was playing Mega Man 2.
Yeah, but gentlemen, this weekend we have something very, very, very special to look forward to finally being released.
Yes, and I feel like we have an interview next week that also helps commemorate that a bit.
Yeah, the greatest romantic comedy / children's movie of all time.
Yeah, everyone's, oh look, it's Spider-Man. Yeah,
I've had so many kids come in to the theater because we have the big standee for Deadpool, and they're like, "It's Spider-Man," and I'm like, "Oh, you don't get how funny you are right now."
the irony that you'll never get.
And then,
For years.
God, I had a woman come in and buy tickets, or try to buy tickets for her son and like his 2 friends or something like that. And like, I was like, just so you know, this movie is a very hard R. Like, I'm not trying to tell you how to raise your kids. That is your job to fuck them up, and do it.
Most of you do a spectacular job.
Yeah, but I want to make sure you know, because most parents just don't know about comic books and stuff like that. But this is a very hard R.
And if
It
your
is-
kids act up during this movie, we will kick them out.
Yeah, that too. But like, I was like, you need to know that, and she was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and cancel one of those tickets, because apparently she wanted to bring her like little daughter. Yeah.
Doesn't your theater not allow have child-proof showings?
We have strict age limits. Like, we don't let toddlers into the theater, but it's anyone from like 6 to 17 can come, but no matter the rating, they have to be with someone who's over the age of 18.
Just as the MPA order, but so loosely enforced.
Yeah.
I mean,
Depends on the theater.
I mean, they're not laws, so fuck
Yeah.
them. But
Fuck 'em.
but I mean,
yeah.
but like PG, like G, someone can come to a movie, like at most theaters, someone can come to like a PG movie, and be like 12 years old, and it's fine. We don't allow it. And actually, I followed a group of teenagers into the theater this weekend, and I was like, no, and made them call their parents.
Cool, you jets. But yeah, all right. Josh, you got anything to add? Have a good Super Bowl. Apart from
Yeah.
not seeing the commercials you wanted to see.
Yeah, I had a great time over at your place.
Oh,
watching it.
there was X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that was one of the ones where Josh was just like, oh, like as soon as like a certain mutant with side blades shows up.
Mm.
That part was cool.
Are they just? Is this still going to be in the past?
Yes.
In
Since
the
it is
80s.
the okay, so
It's-
no stakes, because we already know who makes it into.
Well, the
90s.
idea is that the entire timeline got disrupted because of Days of Future Past. Having said that, you're right,
Yeah.
because the final scene of Days of Future Past,
They're
we
all
see
just-
Yeah.
Jean Grey.
So no stakes.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
cool. Bye.
Yeah.
But I feel
Okay,
like
Psylocke might die.
I
Cool.
feel like Bryan Singer came out and said, "Yeah, actually, no, we still have the option to fuck shit up if we want to."
I mean, that's true. It's fiction.
Yeah, they could bring them back. Who knows?
Retcon is a thing for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, shit, they're all about it now.
I mean, yeah, kill them
I
all
mean,
and do a Days of Future Past
The
Part
whole,
2.
Well, the whole point of the Age of Apocalypse, which is what this is presumably based on, is that someone goes, Xavier's son
Legion, yeah.
goes back in time and kills Xavier in like the 60s or 70s or 80s. Who knows? I don't know. I read it once.
In like the when it was first published.
No, I read a collection in like the early 2000s.
Yeah. The
But I didn't have that lead up comic though. It was just the trade paperback that started with like,
X-Men Alpha.
sure,
Yeah.
if that's what it was. It was trade, so
Yeah.
You'll believe a man can be bald.
yeah.
That's what we got.
That's right, because they're like, you see like the
I fingers crossed that X-Man is in this movie, 'cause
The door opens and they're just bald Xavier. That's what we got. That's what we got.
it's like the final shot of the first trailer.
Yeah.
It's like, yes. And it's
So
like-
I mean, look, Psylocke looked cool, but honestly, like it's one of those things where those 2 trailers have done nothing
yeah.
for me.
Mm.
Mm.
But at least Apocalypse isn't purple anymore.
Well, it was
now that he's in proper lighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he never was purple on
per
film,
se. Yeah.
It was a whole black and blue, white and gold dress situation.
Red
going
and
on.
green.
yeah, yeah.
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Lords.
I don't think. I think we're good.
That is the best Super Bowl halftime performance though. Was Prince. By the way.
was
Paul
Batman
McCartney,
'89.
Prince, dude. If you can find Prince's performance online, fucking watch that shit because during Purple Rain, it starts to rain and they light that shit like with the purple lights, and he's just walking around, and it's the most joyous thing in the world.
I was a little upset that there was no clip of the Aerosmith halftime show in that little
Got a commercial with him.
retrospective. True. Weird commercial.
Just Steve Tyler, really.
Yeah.
because like Aerosmith's not thing. He's doing a country solo thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's still with them. There was no like acrimonious split. He's just like every now and again he'll
He's
do
doing
some
his-
solo.
Yeah, they're just waiting.
Kind of like Keith Richards just put out Cross-Eyed Heart.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I'm Josh.
And remember, Black Magic number 5 in stores everywhere. Wednesday, February 24th.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday!
Happy
Happy birthday,
birthday.
Polly.
Mr. Joshua.
Josh doesn't get that.
That's right. You missed the Rocky IV commentary.
Yeah.
But so check out that book. Thanks again, Nicola Scott, for coming on. Adios.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Cabana.